Anybody else? Otherwise, I
Thank you
think
very
we
much.
should call it a day.
I just wanted to make 2 points, Ravi.
Yeah, Sanjay, please.
I won't give a long talk.
No, please, Sanjay.
One is, I want to pick up on what Dr. Mohan Gopal said about the lower courts, because I think it's critical that you reach the large community of legal aid lawyers with knowledge about this. So we're really talking about legal education even to the lawyers on these issues, because whether it's Part 3 of the Constitution or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights or whatever, how these are actually seamlessly connected. I think that is the point that needs to be established. And I think from his own experience at the judicial academies, that's a critical one. The other thing is the point that both Dr. Gopal and John had mentioned at some point, because the Human Rights Council, the commission before it, like many of the human rights institutions across the world, lacks teeth. It has no implementable powers. It can recommend, it can try to name and shame, etc., etc. But as Dr. Gopal said, these things become bilateral issues. And once they become bilateral issues, it's really very, very difficult to navigate out of that. So and this is not something that we can discuss here at any length, is how does the Human Rights Commission really get more teeth and relevance at a time of very strong nationalist leaders everywhere in the world? I'll stop there. Thank you. You don't have to answer the question, it's just the 2
No, just on a point of information, all states, including India, as part of the Vienna program of Declaration and Program of Action, were supposed to start a human rights education program nationally and create a national plan of action on this.
No,
we had one meeting. We had one meeting in India, and that was the end of Solomon Grundy.
I know this. That's why I'm raising it, because this has to be, the different generations have to take over now.
Yeah,
can't keep doing this
exactly.
Ad infinitum.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Ravi, there is also the International Coordination Center for National Human Rights Institutions, which is as effective as our National Human Rights Commission.
I'm aware of that. There's a major report on it by me on my website, and we know exactly how India got its present accreditation re-accredited. I don't want to go into detail.
These international institutions we know how they function very closely. I think Mr. Pache and I have been inside these institutions for a long time. And so we have perhaps a little more realism about them and how they function and what expectations we can have of them. I entirely agree with Dr. Hazarika that the challenge is how to bring knowledge to the local level. And I think, and I don't say this often, I say this very rarely, but I think this book produced by Mr. Pache has huge potential. If it is available free online publicly, it can have a huge impact worldwide to lots of people at the ground level who now have access to the internet, to really be informed about what's going on. There are, as I said, about 100 areas of struggle on which global norms are brought together in this book, and at least 1 dozen mechanisms, including international mechanisms. Now, we haven't even discussed, for example, the inspection panel of the World Bank, which has actually, I was there when it was created, and so on. So it has been quite effective in providing individuals a direct complaint mechanism within a framework. So my idea is, how do we provide remedies at the local level, effectively? And so I think this book, my fervent request is to make this as widely available as possible, free of cost, not only to students and universities, because only 5% of India's population has a bachelor's degree. And, the number of people who go to university is very small. So if you make this available widely and get it translated, it's a huge exercise, but if you can find it translated into Hindi, for example, or some local languages, I think it can have a massive impact. And, help us to be.
That's excellent. That's really worth pursuing, I must say. Yeah. We need to really put our heads together, Ravi, and take up because maybe as another reflection, more focused might help. Forget the book, but focus. Yeah, absolutely. This is 100% plus consistent with the whole aim of the thing. I agree with you, especially the translation.
No, it would be useful if Dr. Gopal could perhaps write a review of the book in the Hindu book supplement, and as you have access to the full copy, and I will encourage Anand to do a similar review in Bibliophile, which is bought by every library and librarian across India, all the academic institutions, and most of them decide on what to buy after reading Bibliophile or the Hindu book supplement. So perhaps reviews in both these two to start with, and perhaps some other journals, not so widely read by head librarians, but nevertheless read by heads of departments of law or law universities, would be one useful step forward.
I dare not.
That's excellent. That really is excellent.
I dare not say no to Ravi, but he won't let me off easy, as you have seen. So I don't have an option. I face Ravi's sanctions, which I take very seriously. Global sanctions. I take them very seriously.
Excellent, excellent.
Absolutely. I would encourage Mr. Pache to at least translate this into Hindi, if not to other Indian languages. Hindi, Tamil, the areas where human rights violations are the most is basically Hindi-speaking areas. And
I got you, yeah.
It would be wonderful. And if you can put it online, a Hindi version, that would be very powerful.
Gosh, you have a lot of work in the coming days, Ravi.
Yes.
Polish up your Hindi, Ravi.
No, my Hindi is pretty good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything. No,
you can
not
translate
that quality. Not that quality. I have enough Hindi to have the rabble storm the Bastille.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
We don't doubt.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much to everyone, and to Dr. Pache, Dr. Mohan Gopal.
We did not hear from Mr. Shiraishi, if he wishes to say anything at all. So if he's still there, or
Osamu is a very dear colleague for the last 30 or 40 years. But Osamu is there. He is. He's a great listener.
Well,
would you like to say something?
Not really. I'm overwhelmed by Indian curries.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that I have a chance to listen to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In fact, there's a curry shop in Yokohama started by a grand uncle of mine during the Second World War, because he was part of the Subhash Chandra Bose INA and he never came back to India. So you please visit it. It's now run by his family.
Osamu was very much involved in the Bangkok meeting and in the Vienna meeting.
That's right. Absolutely.
We were responsible for the first special procedures, as you know.
Yes.
We were in charge of the first. We were trying to form the way of investigation and so on. And So we did that for the first 10 years of their existence.
Yeah.
And we had to borrow the trusteeship council petition procedure to enable to legally justify the presence of people at the conference table of the United Nations. Otherwise, you could not admit a person in his or her name. And it is thanks to that breakthrough that we were able to do all these interviews by special rapporteurs and so on.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a
privilege,
long,
Mr.
long
Mr.
battle. Thank you so much again for everyone. Thank you, Dr. Pache, Dr. Mohan Gopal, Anand, all the other participants, Gopal, Sanjay Hazarika, Aslamu Shirazi, and Anjali, who stayed on. I'm not aware of the others in the YouTube channel, but thank you also for tuning in on YouTube, and most importantly, to thank Dr. Mohan Gopal for the WebEx platform. Otherwise, we'd be again having to be faced with some honoring Indian dervishes. Thank
You
you
will be sending the recording, won't you?
That's right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan. Thank you so much again, everybody.
Thank you.
Mr. Ram, take care. Thank you. Good luck with your cases. Bye-bye. Thank you. Ravi will talk soon, huh?
Very well. Very
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you so much again. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you for
Bye.
everything.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.